Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So I figured I'd start this video off a little bit more positive today. If you like GUNs, that is, it's going to be positive. Because I think this video might be a depressing one for some people. But I just want to show you guys this. We're going to be doing an in-depth review of this item in the not-so-distant future. This is the Umarix Air Saber Air Bow. It launches a bolt with condensed air at 450 feet per second. Okay, this thing can take down a moose. It's faster than the fastest of reverse compound crossbows. It stores enough air for 25 shots. So we're going to be talking about the pros and cons for this, because as great as it sounds, there's a lot of drawbacks to this as a post-apocalyptic SHTF tool. The point of this video is twofold. It's to encourage people to be very grateful for what you have, and also to prepare for things to get really, really silly in the coming months and years. As you can see here, I got my 5-year food supply. If you haven't seen that video, go and check it out here. I'm in such a privileged position that I'm able to do something like this when there are people who right now are suffering immensely in this world. And I need to be mindful of that at all times, that as I'm focused on the what ifs, what if this could happen? What if this disaster might happen? To not let this comfort that we've been gifted and blessed with pass us by. You wake up in the morning, if you have food in the fridge, if you have water coming out of the taps, okay, even if it's not the cleanest water, okay, in some places, it's still probably better than a lot of people in the world have. If you're able to rest your head on your pillow at night and not have to worry about people kicking in your door, which is increasingly, unfortunately, not the case in a lot of cities throughout North America, so I'm told, then consider yourself blessed. Okay, if you have the lights on, if you have electricity, the ability to have the entire information superhighway at your fingertips at any point in the day, all the world's information for free, is something they didn't have 20, 25, 30 years ago. Okay, this is something new. This is something that can be very empowering. We need to be grateful for what we got right now. If your home is climate controlled, you need to be grateful, because the way things are going, this may be the golden age of humanity. Okay, we may be entering a new dark period of history, because things are not looking good, no matter how you slice it. We are seeing a slow, gradual degradation of and a crumbling of Western civilization, essentially, whether that be in terms of our ethics, our economies, our militaries, our politics. Everything is starting to decay, but it's so slow and it's so gradual and incremental that a lot of people don't realize, just like the frog that's in the boiling water, the water starts off lukewarm, not much going on. You turn it up a couple degrees. Maybe that's the pandemic. You turn it up a few more degrees. It's the financial crisis. You turn it up a few more degrees. That's the political unrest. You turn it up a few more degrees. That's the divide between those who want more medical interventions and those who want less. You turn it up a bit more with some geopolitical clashes around the world, with the pullout from Afghanistan. Every one of these things is another degree. And because the buildup is so gradual, we don't notice that we're soon going to be in a hot boiling cauldron of shit hits the fan. So it's very important that while there's this mad scramble to get prepared for this inevitable collapse, it appears that it's inevitable collapse at this point, that we don't forget to enjoy the situation that we have right now. Because a lot of people would love to be in our shoes and have the luxury to worry about the future and not worry about just surviving today. But it does, in my mind, and in many intellectuals' minds, appear that we are on the precipice of collapse. I'm currently listening to an audiobook by Brett and Heather Weinstein entitled The Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to Modern Society. I believe that's what it's called. And they talk about a lot of things that parallel what I've sort of been talking about on this channel for years. And it basically talks about the shortcomings of technology, how we've misapplied a lot of technologies, how we've rushed in to do whatever was profitable or whatever seemed right at the time without looking at the unintended consequences and not giving due diligence to the precautionary principle. That's what they call it, this idea that we need to be a bit more apprehensive with respect to how much we're changing, because change is so rapid nowadays. Okay, things are changing so fast, at least socially and culturally, We still don't have hoverboards like we were promised in Back to the Future, but culturally, things appear to be changing incredibly fast, especially being consumed by these bite-sized forms of media. I talked about in the last video how in order to be preparedness-minded, you need to think long-term. But there's a myopia with modern people, and this is being perpetuated by these social media platforms that are just increasingly trying to catch people's attention with shorter and shorter, more narrow and shallow bits of information where you're not getting any depth. And then these same people are trying to educate me about, and you of course, the people who are completely consumed in the better part of their leisure time by these ADHD inducing technologies are the ones who are forming the consensus around what we should and shouldn't be doing. They're the ones who are saying prepping is crazy. You know, thinking long-term is crazy. Just live in the now, be hedonistic, right? It's all about living in the now. Well, sure, as preppers, sometimes we may be guilty of living too much in the future. Hence the reason why I started this video saying it's very important that we be grateful for things. It's very important that we periodically do indulge and live in the now. But the problem is the bulk of society right now, and ever more increasingly, is constantly living in the now. I want it now. I want it fast. I know it's not going to make me feel good for a long time. I know it's not going to be long lasting and deeply meaningful on a visceral spiritual level, but I want it now. Okay, preppers, we're on the opposite end of the spectrum. We're always looking at what's going to be coming down the road, and perhaps we're not enjoying ourselves in the moment enough. So it's important that we find a balance between these things. There is this fatalism that I think is fueling our hyper conspicuous consumption, this idea that we just got to live in the now. There's a fatalistic view of the future that says, you know what, we're pretty much screwed, so we might as well just, what does Britney say, dance until the world ends? It really seems like that song is really reflective of our culture for the last 10 years, ever since the song came out. That's pretty much what we've been doing. We've just been blindly indulging, being pushed to and fro by whatever industrial complex profit motive is out there trying to exploit us while the getting is good. So anyways, guys, me and a few other YouTubers, Full Spectrum Survival, The Urban Prepper, City Prepping, we're going to be doing a collaborative channel starting in the third week of October. I know we promised this months ago, but we are actually going to be putting out the first video collaboration, which is just going to be us having a conversation, free form, no edits, talking about various things related to prepping. One of the first topics of the day is how to find hope in the age of uncertainty, because there's a lot of people right now who are jaded. Okay, they don't think that there's a way out of this. They don't think that there's any hope for the future. And that's a terrifying thing when you think about it, that the people who are not preppers are basically just living as though the end is inevitable and, you know, the shit's just going to hit the fan and there's not much we can do about it. Because realistically, practically speaking, the state of affairs, there isn't a whole heck of a lot. Okay, there's going to be resource wars. There's going to be water shortages, which are going to cause a lot of crazy turmoil. There's going to be more weather disasters, which are going to cause more refugee crises. There's going to be more political instability. All of this stuff is only going to intensify in the years to come. And a lot of people have just lost hope. So the focus of that discussion is going to be around how do we maintain hope in this coming age of uncertainty, and how can we prepare for an event like that? If we do believe that there's some inevitability to collapse, how deep and severe is the collapse going to go? What is the actual collapse going to look like? So those are all going to be things that we talk about. The channel hasn't been made yet, but we're working on all the technicals of that, so expect that later in the month. I'm also going to be releasing a video next week for people who might be struggling financially right now, and what you can do to prepare for what's coming on limited to no budget. A lot of people look at me and they say, oh, I got all these toys now. It's because basically all I've been doing for the last 10 years is working my ass off because I knew what was coming. Okay, I knew that I needed to hunker down. I needed to do 16-hour days in order to get where I am today. But it wasn't always like that. I was a starving student in the purest sense of the word. I never had anything gifted to me. Okay, I grew up in poverty. I grew up in foster homes. Okay, I could go on about my life story. It's not something that I am looking for any pity for, because quite frankly, it's an experience that I'm grateful I had. And I want to tell you that if you are struggling financially right now and you're trying to get ahead and you're trying to get prepared, first off, prepping shouldn't even be a priority if you're just trying to find a job. Okay, you need to priorities first. But I will say this, is that sort of experience, money can't buy that experience. Okay? Money can't buy the experience of enduring hardship. Money cannot buy the character that is built by pressure and stress and deprivation. There's something to be said for that. So do not lose hope. And this video that I'm going to be releasing next week, it's going to be practical tips. It's not going to be any wishy-washy stuff about how, you're going to be a better person because you're poor right now. No, it's going to be actual practical stuff, how you can acquire things if you got no money at all, and where you can start. But I hope that you can walk away from this video and have a greater appreciation for what we got, because what we got is very special. What we got right now is something that the kings of old wished they had. Could you imagine how quickly you'd be burned at the stake if you took back an iPhone or an Android phone back to the medieval era with a complete version of Wikipedia using keywords on it? Could you imagine the power of information? And now we just take that for granted. So do not despair. Don't compare yourself to other people. That's one of the first things. You cannot compare yourself, especially people who are way ahead in the game. Every day you should aspire just to be a bit better than the last. And eventually you're going to get to where you want to go. If you're doing that, there's nothing that can stop you. It's going to mean ditching some bad influences, ditching some shitty friends. It might mean getting out of some bad relationships. It might mean leaving a job or doing better at that job or doing some entrepreneurial stuff. There's a lot of things you can do right now for a dedicated person who is healthy and committed. There's a lot of things you can be doing to improve your life. So just keep watching, guys. We got a lot of content for you. Some of it entertaining, some of it depressing. Hopefully some of it's motivating, like this one was today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Canadian Prepper out.
Your one-stop shop for premium, high-quality, brand-name products that have been tried and tested by myself and other YouTube gear reviewers. My subscribers save 10% off by using the coupon code SURVIVALPREPPER. All one word in all caps.